Welcome, everybody, to tonight's episode of Early Late Nights. Early Late Nights is a featured show featured here right on the Explosion Network Twitch channel, and you will find the one and only Ciaran Martian as its host. Welcome him to the show once again.
Hi, what's going on? Thank you so much. It's Friday. We're escaped. We're at that point again for the weekend, the 2 days. We get to just hang out and chill out and play some video games, and it's going to be a bloody good weekend, I hope. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited, and I hope you've had a good week. We here on the Explosion Network definitely had, and I'm excited to bring you another great show of Early Late Nights. If you haven't seen all week, No Man's Sky Next has been a huge update. It's been massive. I spoke a little bit about how it was kind of trying to call me back on the Tuesday episode of the show. I'm still tempted. I'm still tempted to download it again this weekend and jump in and have a look and see what's the go. I might even stream it on the Twitch channel. To stream it right here through the skies. It was also announced today. Xbox Games for Gold were announced, including For Honor, Forza Horizon 2. And also Dead Space 3 is going to be coming. So that's a pretty strong week. I'm looking forward to see what PlayStation has to announce for this coming month. But it's a good start. It's a very good start for Xbox. Another good solid month. We're getting to the point in these game console cycles that we get to see more and more AAA titles come to the Games for Gold and the PS Plus. Because, hey, it's towards the end. It's been a couple of years now. So we'll see more and more of that. Interesting thing I've read today. GTA Online had the new nightclub update released on the 24th, so a couple of days ago. And part of it's a whole range of things. We get to own a nightclub, you get to run it, organize events and crap like that. But one of the different things is, in this, you now get a whole range of alcohol you can sell and consume. And one of these is a particular shot. I think it's called a Macbeth whiskey or a Macbeth whiskey shot or something like that. And the moment you drink it, your character blacks out and you appear somewhere random in the GTA world in a random state. As in, you could be half clothed, or you could be in a car somewhere, or you could be in just the bathroom of the nightclub, or you could be on top of a building, on top of a skyscraper, wearing a limited edition Easter egg t-shirt of a real life Rockstar t-shirt that they sell based on the ironic version of the Scientology there. I took a brain fart in the middle there, including the Scientology slogan in the middle of it from GTA 5. So that's pretty cool. This week's show we will be looking at Dota 2 has some new loot box rules coming in for the Netherlands that I want to take a look at really quickly and see how that reflects on the world and see how those changes might reflect on Australia in the future. We've also got the eSports conference. It was in Sydney on yesterday, and it was a great event. There was something particularly special I want to talk about that came out from it. Not special, but more, it's going to show the growth of eSports in the future, as well as how eSports is viewed currently in Australia. We've got Tales from the Table. Once again, I will be discussing combat in D&D, as well as going over being flexible as a DM, because I think that's pretty important. As well as the main topic is the lovely Lara Croft is returning to our screens in the coming gaming season, and it's an interesting time for Lara Croft, considering that the position Shadow of the Tomb Raider's in, and the part in the story it's telling is going to be interesting. So I'm not only going to be looking at what that story means, but also what's next for Tomb Raider and Eidos when the game continues, because it's pretty exciting. But let's jump right in. Let's keep going. Let's dive straight into the show and really get cracking on some of this news. We've got some good stuff today. Dota 2, as we've talked about, it's one of the largest growing esports, and it's one of Steam's, like Valve's, landmark games. It has taken a forefront in the esports world. It's taken a forefront in the multiplayer MOBA world. But what we've seen recently is that Valve has taken, or Steam itself has taken, a very big lead in the actual loot box scenario. Not only EA, but Valve itself, because Valve's games are very loot box centric, and some of the content and the marketplace around the loot boxes is a bit controversial, as we've spoken about before on the show. Now, what's happened in the Netherlands is due to apparently Steam in the Netherlands has never followed the gambling laws at all since it was put in place. And so it went back and forth, and then the Netherlands government has decided, hey, you need to start doing this properly. And it's got to a point now where yesterday a Reddit user posted a picture of a loot box they bought for the first time with, well, not for the first time, but the loot box they were going to buy as part of the new international loot boxes, the caches that come out. And it automatically showed the character, the item that you were going to get if you bought that box. It showed the one single character piece, and it said if you buy this box, you're going to get that one in this box this time. And so that takes out a lot of loot boxes in today's gaming society are very randomized, and like there is the gambling element of you don't know exactly which item you're going to get out of a selection of items if you buy that loot box. So to see this change happen. Earlier in the year, Steam has already removed the marketplace and trading of items around the game that directly conflicted with the Netherlands gambling laws. And I've been very impressed because that the marketplace and the trading of items is one of my biggest issues in games. In Steam, really, is that we're trying to control this and put some more emphasis on it now, but the whole marketplace and putting a money value on these items is really what causes the problems to come afoot, is that people can keep trying until they get the best possible item to then flip for cash that they're going to put back in and try again. And that's gambling to me. That there is full gambling. I don't mind it if it's just a loot box and you're paying the money to just grab a random item. It's like a lucky dip. It's a random item out of a set amount of items. Eventually, you're going to get what you need. And that's the problem as well, is that a lot of people are... The main issue is, other than being able to sell stuff, is that there's always that one more, I'll probably get the item that I want. One more. And so, they keep buying one and buying one and buying one. And the more you buy, the more you want to buy because you feel closer to getting that item that you want if you haven't already got it. And this method does take that out. It does show you, okay, if you buy this next loot box, you're only getting that. And some people might, some more people hopefully will be deterred by that because they'll see, oh, I'm just going to get the crappy fucking common again. Oh, all I'm going to do is break that down and go from there. So I'm a bit disappointed in Steam a little bit because Steam's remaining quiet on this. So Steam's remaining pretty quiet on this. And to me, it kind of seems a bit childish. Not in the fact that they're making these changes, but the way they've done it is, it didn't have to go to this extent, but the way they've done it is, fine, we'll do it, and we'll go by your laws, and we'll just, we'll take all the fun out of it, there you go, and we're not going to say anything, we're not going to speak about it, it just happens. And you're just like, sorry? Come on, Valve. And I think Valve, at the whole point of this, with Steam being such a huge marketplace in gaming online, the way it expands across multiple different countries and currencies and different laws, it's got to be hard. I completely understand it's got to be hard. Steam's had its very own issues here in Australia with stuff like, the consumer laws for refunds. Different bits and pieces that change. The Steam has butted heads with the Australian government. It's butted heads with other government around the world. This is what is happening in the Netherlands for the Dutch. And I hope this... Part of me kind of likes. I don't like the extent they've gone to it. I don't like that they've taken the little, they just be like, this is what you get. Bam. It's like, oh, okay. I do like that they've been made to remove the marketplace and trading of items from it, because I don't... Maybe not the trading. The trading's kind of fine as long as you're trading between only friends and you've been friends for a certain amount of time, whatever. But the actual marketplace in Steam, where it, it advises you, this is how much money you're going to make off your item. This is how it's been selling recently. This is everything. And it's like, fucking, whoa. Oh, I look up this skin and it's got $140 US on it. Fuck yeah, let's buy that. Let's sell that. I can sell that. I've spent enough money on items alone in Dota 2. My 2 accounts with a ridiculous amount of hours. And it's completely normal. It's completely fine to see that. And, it's... I think there is changes. And I hope the Australian government and the Australian marketplace takes note of that and continues to move on, because that's what we're up to with these loot boxes, with everything that we are striving towards here in Australia. And speaking about striving towards Australia, the Australian Gaming Esports Conference was yesterday at the International Convention Centre. This was a gathering of various members of esports personalities and representatives from across the country, all getting together to discuss and talk about the future of esports. And this is a fantastic method and step and ideology to push esports forward. This has been a huge year for esports. We have the Melbourne Esports Open coming up in September at the start of the month. It's only about a month away now. We've got various events. We've got more Australian Overwatch contenders. We've got all these, these Rocket League, Rocket League events happening now on TV, on the free-to-air TV stations. We're getting more and more of it, and there's growth, and this is what we need to extend that growth. There was an interesting piece of information that came out of it. Currently in Australia, the only state or territory that views gaming as a skilled sport that should fall under the sporting gambling laws is the Northern Territory. And currently in the Northern Territory, there are 20 games listed that can all be upheld within the gambling legislation. That involves games like Overwatch, Call of Duty, Rocket League, Counter-Strike Go. We've got League of Legends, and all the mainstays of esports are part of that. There's 20 games there. StarCraft's a part of it still. And they're making the right steps to move that gambling is monitored and kept fair in that product, in that area. They're moving in the right direction, and they're treating esports fairly, because a lot of people don't see esports as a sport. They're not seeing esports as a skill-based leisure activity that is for money or that people can be professional at. There's a whole bunch of things going on with it, and it's exciting to see the Northern Territory take this seriously, because that means the other states eventually, after they go on through their current issues with other sports, they're going to be moving on to esports, and esports will be following on with those laws in the rest of Victoria and in the rest of Australia as well. And that's exciting, because at the minute Australia's got this gambling problem. Not saying that Australia in general are bad gamblers, but there is so much red tape around gambling. Victoria at the minute's already got enough problems dealing with the UFC since the UFC entered, and dealing with MMA. And then there's different bits and pieces in known history of sports and sporting personalities having problems with gambling. And we need these legislations put in to prevent things like match fixing, to keep the respect and the validity of these games happening. At the minute, there is the Esports Integrity Commission that various players and personalities are a part of to try and uphold that integrity in esports and keep people from match fixing. We've heard stories many times that people have sought less on the table methods of making money in the esports scene, because there's not that much money to make currently. There's not that much money. These people are trying their hardest to become professional, to give up their jobs so they can play 8 hours, so 16 hours a day, and we're not seeing that change. We're not seeing that change here yet, and I hope Australia can keep moving. Australia always seems a little slow on the uptake of things. It always seems behind the eight ball when it comes to getting on board with these initiatives like esports. And I hope that it takes the opportunity through the esports conference, through what's being done at a state level, through what's being done at a federal level, to move with the times and to take this on before it becomes before Australia gets behind the rest of the world. We're in a good place right now. We're getting better. I'm excited for esports, and I hope you are too, because that's all we've got is excitement right now and hope. So let's keep it up. Now, if you don't know me, or if you don't know, I am a Dungeons & Dragons enthusiast, and I love to take some time recently in the show to talk about a D&D problem or D&D topic or matter, or a story from my recent Dungeons & Dragons games. They played every Monday, so I get a lot of stories out of them. And this week, I've been inspired again from a conversation I had with my players yesterday. We play Monday, and then we hang out normally Thursday nights. And so I generally get the old feedback. I get the old, oh, that was really cool, or that was kind of crap, wasn't it, Ciaran? And I'll be like, ooh. But, so I had both my players, and I've only been playing with this group for 5-6 sessions now. And they say to me, both of them turned around to me that I was hanging around with last night and went, it was really great that the last 3 sessions we haven't had any combat. And the current situation that the group's in, it's a very RP heavy arc story section because there's not much fighting to be done. There's more figuring things out. They're figuring a murder mystery out. And they talked to me about their previous DM, and the previous DM was not as experienced. The previous DM was still learning, and they felt the need that every single session needs to be some combat. Every session needs to have combat, needs to have fighting, needs to have players engaging with the enemy. And that is a very common opinion for DMs. And you know what? I understand that some groups and some DMs feel that's right. Feel that combat's the most important part. So the first thing, before I even go any further on this topic, is, as a Dungeon Master, if you're going to play with a group of friends, talk about what kind of game they want to play. Talk about what they enjoy. Talk about what they want to see in the game. Because that's what you need to, to create your story and world around, is what they want and what you want from it. But in my opinion, it needs to be said that it's okay not to have combat. It's okay not to have these stupid fights randomly thrown just for the sake of having combat. Because that's what 9 times out of 10, that's what happens, is that a DM goes, oh no, they haven't fought in a while. We're randomly going to have this monster jump out of bush while they're walking and fight them for no reason other than to fight. And you're just like, that's not fun. For me as a player, that's not fun. I'm a very story-based player. I'm a role player. I'm all about the story. And as a DM, I only like putting in fights when I think it has something to add to the story or something to add to the game. Fights do add to the game, but when you start randomly fighting every single room and you fight every couple minutes and you get a dungeon that's just fight, which some people love. But for me, it's like, I'm just grinding. This is horrible. I had a DM in the last 18 months that, when we were in the Underdark, felt the need to throw every single Underdark creature from the book at us every couple of rooms. And it just got monotonous. It just got to the point where the DM even started to mention, oh, I need to look elsewhere for more Underdark creatures. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't. You really don't. You don't need to do this. You don't need to overuse creatures. It's okay to reuse creatures. You don't need to do that, and that's a different topic for a different day. But combat is not essential unless your group wants it. You're allowed to go on for sessions without fighting anything, to build the story, to have characters interact with each other, to not feel the need to break down what's happening. Combat isn't a need. I even had a moment in the session where 2 players wanted to spar each other. So instead of having a full combat moment, I changed it up a little bit. I just did straight rolls, telling them different skills to roll with, and we built the story around that to kind of clash, and so the story carried through, because the fight between them, was more about the story. It wasn't about an outcome. If it's about an outcome, I'll do a full fight. If somebody wants to kill the other person or try and kill the other person, let's do it. Let's fight it out. But you don't need to do it. There's other ways to keep the flow of the session going, to keep everything in line together. And always listen to your players. Talk to your players. You will get the best story reactions in the best moment if you listen to your players, take their ideas, and wrap it in a different way. I had a player recently said, at some point I'm going to get this item created. And I was like, okay, cool, interesting. He showed me the design. I knew the design already. And so this session, he went to a blacksmith to get it made. And I knew which blacksmith he'd go to. And he went to it, and the blacksmith comes out and he goes, oh, I've already got it. Somebody's left it here as a package. And the player knows the NPC that did it. And now there's questions about, wait, how did the NPC know? The NPC left a note, just like, exactly what you want. And how did the NPC know exactly what I wanted? It's built in the story. It does make sense because the NPC is of a godly nature. The NPC has connections to one of the larger gods. It also has a long-growing relationship with this player now. It's what we get to see. It's the growth we get to see in it, and it's exciting. Listen to your players and use that in your stories, because you will get so much more out of it. Your players will be so much more invested because things that they've heard, things that you've said, always feel free to don't, even if you feel like you want to write a story arc all the way through, after a session, feel like go back, reread the story arc and make some changes. Make changes to what you can do to that story arc to make it better, to include what the players are thinking, to include maybe some leads that, 9 times out of 10, players will do something that you don't expect them to do. They will go through an avenue you don't expect. So make sure you follow that. Make sure you do that. Use your nose. Use your initiative. You know your players better than another DM would. But listen to them. They often have really good ideas. And if you borrow them and make them your own, and they don't see exactly what you've done, you look like a badass DM. That's all you need to do. That's enough D&D. If you ever want to talk D&D with me, go to @YourBoyRingo on Twitter. I'm always free for a chat, or right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network during any of my streams. I'm always happy to chat, answer any questions about D&D. Now, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is coming. It's flown on the radar. It's had a terrible, terrible release. There's been so many leaks. Square Enix has run this terribly. But it's still coming, and this run of 3 Tomb Raider games since Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and now Shadow of the Tomb Raider has been telling the story of Lara's beginning, of how Lara becomes the Tomb Raider. And the first 2 games so far have taken steps towards her becoming that character, becoming the Tomb Raider, becoming the Lara Croft we know. And it tackles different issues that Lara has to tackle morally. And this has been a fantastic thing to see these 3 games span this story. Lara is now taking the steps to become the fully fledged Tomb Raider. She is dealing with a world-ending apocalypse. There's all this stuff. David Anfasi, the head of Eidos Montreal, has come out and was talking in a recent interview with one of the Xbox magazines about the game and about the progress with the story, which I find super interesting, because he started that, Lara is not going to die. We can't kill Lara. That's pretty much, I think it's we can't kill Lara is the exact quote. Or we're not going to kill Lara. And I love that idea. I love the idea that this is a self-contained story arc that's going to go from point A to point B. We knew when we started this, we knew this was a story about how Lara becomes the Tomb Raider, how Lara evolves as a character. And we've experienced that, and we've seen it, and we're going to see it fulfilled now in the 3rd game. We're going to see her become that character. Whatever twists and turns and moral decisions she has to make, we don't know yet. But we knew where we were going. And we've experienced this. And then many people are asking, well, what's next? Are you going to make another Tomb Raider? Are you just going to carry on, even though this is a 3-game trilogy? And, David's come out and said, well, we haven't thought of that yet. We haven't discussed anything yet. We haven't really gone into detail about it. So it's interesting. It's a really cool point. And I wanted to talk about this today because I read this article and it made me interested in the fact, why don't video games more and more often take a leaf out of comic books storytelling methods? So if you're not a fan of comic books or you haven't read one, comic books deal in arcs. Like I do in D&D, I deal in an arc, a story arc. We're going from this point to this point, and that's only a small section of the game, of the story. Why don't they deal in arcs like comic books? This has been the origin arc. This has been the start, the beginning in these 3 games. Awesome. Now we're going to release another 3 games from a different point in Lara's life, but they're 3 games that are going to be connected, and there's going to be an overarching story to it. Fucking awesome. Please do it. Games often do this thing where they're like, solo stories of Lara's adventure here, Lara's adventure here, Lara's adventure here. And they often don't link that well. They're kind of like, sequels in movie franchises, but they're different stories that kind of expand the one big story. Instead of just focusing on a section of a bigger story, just focus on this section. Make a 3-game installment again. Take your time with it. Every couple of years, release another installment. Release another installment. Do it again. And I wish games would do this. Even in the fact of doing it in the way that comic books write stories with different authors about the same characters, writing it from a different point of view, writing it from another idea of a character, writing a different story for that character that doesn't have to be directly related to the other game, the other story that's going on. You could have two authors of Superman going side by side that are writing completely different stories with completely different Supermans at completely different times. But it's awesome, and comic book readers understand that. So why can't gamers have that kind of storytelling? Have somebody, all right, this is this person's take on Tomb Raider now, cool. They're not going to restart every time. They're not going to do an origin story. They're going to do a section of Lara's story and start telling that and talking that through and experiencing that. And I would be really excited by that if I could think that an ongoing story or an ongoing promotion would have that effect in the game. It would be worth investing in. It would be worth to see. It would be great. And it's been fantastic to see this origin story not rushed in one game but spread over 3. And seeing how the events of these 3 games lead to her becoming the Tomb Raider. I'd like to see more games do this. The writing style, take more time with running a story out. Yes, it means committing to a game for more than one game, but do it. If you tell a longer story, if you don't feel the need to, make each game still its contained story, but make it a part of this arc. Make it a part of everything, because I would really enjoy that, and I think more and more gamers would get more out of that to see. I'm still on the fence about Shadow the Tomb Raider. The only reason I'm most excited, I'm actually looking forward to this game, is because of the storytelling, because of this long-form storytelling for Lara's growth as a character. The game's been poorly publicized. It looks kind of like more Tomb Raider, which isn't a bad thing, but there doesn't need to be anything new or special. I'm avoiding watching too much content. Even now, the content we've got playing in the background, I haven't even watched that. And I'm trying to avoid even looking at it. Lara's adventure has been a fantastic one. And I think we deserve to enjoy its finish and then to see what's next for her character. And thank you very much for joining me. This has been Early Late Nights, episode 37, right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network. We go live every Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. For the show. You can join us, talk to me in chat, ask me any questions you have, get involved with the show. But if you can't make it live, that's completely fine. Join us the following day at 7 p.m. at youtube.com/Explosion Network to get the VOD, as well as on all good podcasting services where we'll put the podcast audio version up. Thank you very much for joining me. Make sure you check out the explosionnetwork.com or explosionnetwork.com. Check out the website. There's so much good content going on there. There's regular articles going on by Ashley and Dylan. Ashley's previous series on the San Diego Comic-Con has been really insightful and fantastic to read through each day. Check out Bevan Beats if you were listening to the music before the show. Bevan Beats number 6. Ashley did it, and I really enjoy the playlist. I think it's a fantastic playlist. More people should jump along. Follow our Spotify channel. Follow us here on Twitch. Follow us everywhere on YouTube, on Twitter at ExplosionPod. My Twitter is at your boy Ringo that I mentioned earlier. Give us a like. Give us your support. Show us some appreciation because we'll bloody appreciate it ourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday for another episode of Early Late Nights. Good night.